Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that types of good stuff. Got a lot of things to talk about. Ewan McGregor making some comments about a potential Obi-Wan movie or not so potential Obi-Wan movie. Rumors going around that Tom Cruise may be a frontrunner for Green Lantern. What the hell is that all about? Is Tanantino's Star Trek film more of a reality now because of the Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth departing Star Trek 4? All that type of stuff. But before we get to any of that, we need to go right off the top with a little bit of house cleaning. Now, of course, yesterday on the John Campea Show, we had our question of the day. And our question of the day was simple. Understanding all the big hits, but some of the struggles that some of the Disney films have had, would you consider 2018 to be a great year or a bad year for Disney? I mean, because there's a different way he looks at it. Now, I looked at it in such a way that, hey, look, even when you add up all the box office, Disney comes out billions in the profit. Even though a couple of their films like Wrinkle in Time and Solo struggled, they've come out billions on top. But we asked you guys, how would you rate 2018 for Disney so far? And the results are in, and this is what you guys said. You guys said, by a little bit of a margin, the winning part was, this has been a great year for Disney with big hits and all that kind of stuff. 40.77% of you said it's been a great year for Disney. 23.74% says it's been pretty good. I mean, yeah, they had some big, massive, like $1 billion or more films, but they also had a couple of money losers. Whereas this was surprising to me. More of you said this than I thought. 35.49% of you said it's been a disappointing year for Disney, despite the fact that they've had 3 films over the $1 billion mark, one of them over $2 billion, and that they're sitting at about $2.5, $2.6 billion in profit, even considering their losses. But still, 35% of you said it's disappointing. So there you have it. Great is the winner with 40.77%. And of course, today, guys, we're going to have a new question of the day, but we'll get to that question of the day in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's move on here with a few items off the top. As many of you guys know, last night, the brand new romantic comedy Crazy Rich Asians hit theaters. I had a chance to go out and see this film. Now, look, I was very excited about this film. I thought the trailer was really quite cute. I'm, of course, married to an Asian. So, in my marriage, we've had some excitement about this movie. And again, I've heard some very positive things. Once again, we talked about this on the show the other day. Rotten Tomatoes, the early critic ratings were having it at like 98%. So huge, with very, very big pop and very big word of mouth. Here's my review of Crazy Rich Asians. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It is a fairly harmless, often charming and entertaining, paint-by-numbers romantic comedy. And some of you might be going, oh, so that means you didn't like it. No. Listen to what I'm saying. It is a pretty good, harmless, basically paint-by-numbers romantic comedy that is often quite charming and entertaining and has some good laughs along the way. I walked out of Crazy Rich Asians having been entertained. A lot of smiles, a lot of giggles. Again, let me start with some of the negative things on it. It is a very elementary movie. Now, the director, John M. Chu, he is best known, fortunately or unfortunately, for doing Justin Bieber documentaries. I think he's done a couple of them. He also did that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson G.I. Joe film. He did that one. He doesn't have a great track record at this point, but I thought he handled this movie pretty good. Again, I saw nothing inspiring in it. He didn't really try anything bold. He didn't do a lot of stuff. And it felt honestly like a brand new director. It felt like somebody who was directing his first film and was just playing it kind of safe. And that's kind of how it came across. And you'll see what I mean when you see it. Just even in the first 10 minutes, it feels like a very elementary kind of movie, right? Also, they had this side plot with the rich guy's sister that had no connection to the overall movie whatsoever. Like none. So it's like, it was an interesting character, but they kept going away to this side story involving the rich dude's sister that again was in no way connected into the main movie. It was just, by the time the movie ended, I just realized, I said to my wife, it's like, well, that was a total waste of time. Everything they did with that character was a total waste of time. And the other thing, and this is just me, a me kind of thing, I am growing, it's starting to bother me how many of these romantic comedies end up where the guy of the girl's dream is always a mega rich, powerful dude. Like whether you're looking at, I don't know, that same movie, Pretty Woman, or whether you're looking at 50 Shades, or whether you're looking at Crazy Rich Asians, it seems like there's this huge, like, constant motif they go back to that, turns out that her dream guy is a mega super rich, powerful guy. It's like, come on. Now, granted, there are stereotypes that go the other ways in romantic comedies with the girl is always this, and this. Absolutely, and that's just as irritating. But I'm just finding that one motif that how come the guy of the girl's dreams is always a super rich multi-billionaire with all the money and power in the world? And that's the dream guy. But anyway, I got past that pretty quick, whatever. But look, on the good side, there was very few, if any, eye-rolling cringe moments. Even some great comedies have like eye-rolling cringe moments, like, that just didn't work, that fell flat, that was dumb. And to be honest with you, even as I sit back now and reflect on the film, I can't think of any of those moments. Like, not a lot of moments that completely crushed it out of the park, but I honestly also can't think of any moments that, that fell flat. Like, I really can't think of any of those. It was pretty even-toned throughout with some very particular highlights, and again, some very charming and heartwarming and endearing moments. I gotta tell you, too, one of the big surprise performances for me in this movie was the woman with the stupidest name in Hollywood, Awkwafina. She plays like Constant Wu's former college friend who also happens to live in Singapore, so they reconnect in Singapore. And I'm going to tell you what, she was awesome. She was awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an Academy Award-winning performance. It's not that difficult of a character to play, but she played it perfectly and was always funny, and you knew whenever she was going to be on screen, you were going to have a couple of laughs. The writing around this character was great, and the way Awkwafina played the character was spot on. Absolutely spot on. So every time she's on screen, I won't give any of them away. I'm just thinking of a couple of the moments of hers in the movie that just had me giggling pretty hard. Like, she was really, really fun to watch in this movie. So that was a big surprise to me. One of the things that was not a surprise was that the best performance in the movie comes from the goddess, Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh gives the best performance of the movie. Then again, that's what we were all expecting. None of us are surprised at that. She is incredible in this movie. She brings the dramatic weight. Like, everybody else in the film does a very nice job carrying a romantic comedy. That's fine. But for those moments that you needed to have some gravitas, I hate using that word, but I'll use it here anyway. For those moments that you needed to have some gravitas and some emotional depth brought to it, they called on Michelle Yeoh, and she delivers. Now, of course, she's also starring in Star Trek Discovery Season 1, which I thought she was great in that. But as expected, Michelle Yeoh really delivers the goods. So look, overall, Crazy Rich Asians isn't a great movie. By my estimation, at any rate. It's not a great movie. It's certainly not a movie I'm going to be talking about 5 years from now. But honestly, for a fun little movie to go out to see this weekend, if you want some good entertainment, some charm, a couple of really decent laughs, without the eye-rolling cringy moments, Crazy Rich Asians is actually a good mark for you. I'd say it's a great date movie. And you know what? You don't have to be Asian. You don't have to be Chinese. You don't have to be from Singapore to appreciate the movie. I think you're going to get a kick out of it. So run out there and check it out. I think you're going to have a good time. All right. With that being said, let's move on to another thing here. As we all know, fortunately or unfortunately, we know that Netflix, for some unimaginable reason, has decided to do Iron Fist Season 2. Well, today, we've got our first trailer for Iron Fist Season 2 and our first poster. Now, let's talk about this for a second. It seemed, for those of you who watched Luke Cage Season 2, you guys know that there was one episode pretty much dedicated to Luke Cage and Danny Rand, Iron Fist, just hanging out together. And I thought, well, that was kind of a fun, it kind of takes us away from the story of Luke Cage, that episode. It was kind of a one-off episode, but it was kind of fun. I later became convinced by a number of you guys wrote this into me and you've convinced me, was that the purpose of that episode in Luke Cage wasn't even for Luke Cage. It was to say to the audience, look, we're changing the Iron Fist character. He's more likable now. And you know what? You guys convinced me. I thought, yep, you're right. Because they did, in that episode of Luke Cage Season 2 with Iron Fist, they did change the character of Iron Fist quite a bit. He comes across very different in that episode. So it was like they were doing an advanced sell job for the audience. Say, hey guys, when Iron Fist Season 2 comes out, please come and give it a chance. We know Season 1 sucked. We know we blew it with the character. But look, we're making changes to him. So today, the trailer drops and the first poster comes out. And, hey, look, it's just a trailer. But I liked it. Hey, look, you guys know I think Season 1 of Iron Fist was a hot, steaming pile of crap. It was awful, with almost no redeeming qualities about it. I thought it was just terrible. But let's be fair. We've got this trailer in front of us, and I got to tell you, I thought the trailer worked. I thought it gives us little glimpses. You know, we got Misty coming in, which is pretty cool. They're hearkening back to an ongoing story with his former friend. That looks pretty cool. You got, Wing is in there, which is awesome. She was great in Season 1. They seem to be communicating, following up to Luke Cage. The fact that Danny's a little bit of a different character now. It looks like it's going to have the action. Granted, it's just a trailer, but the action in this trailer looks tighter than the action in Season 1. There were many times in Season 1 of Iron Fist that the action felt very clumsy. Very clumsy. And I know a lot of you guys have commented on that too. But the trailer makes it look like they've tightened that up. They fine-tuned the character a bit. It seems like there's good dramatic pace to it. So, granted, it's just a trailer, and this season may be just as bad or worse than Iron Fist Season 1, but let's be fair. As a trailer, it's not bad. It certainly looks better. This trailer, this 2-minute and 23-second trailer was better than Luke Cage Season 1, than Iron Fist Season 1. This 2-minute and 23-second trailer on its own is better than the entirety of Iron Fist Season 1. And I got a kick out of it. I thought it worked. So, hey, what did you guys think? Have you guys had a chance to see that trailer yet? If so, jump down to the comments section. Do you agree with me? Do you think, hey, it looks like maybe they're taking this in the right direction now? Or do you think, nah, it looks like more of the same from Season 1 and I'm not interested? And who can blame me if you did? But I gotta say, I'm a little more optimistic now for Season 2 than I certainly was yesterday. Jump down to the comments section and let me know what you guys think. All right, third item here off the top is simply this. It is now being reported by Variety. So, this isn't some rumor website. Variety is now reporting that Disney's chairman, Alan Horn, or Disney Studio chairman, Alan Horn, and James Gunn have now had a sit-down face-to-face meeting at the Disney lot. And the two of them sat down. The meeting, Variety reports, is said to have been very cordial and very professional. The outcome of that meeting seems to be, no surprise, exactly what we've heard already. The results of the meeting seem to be twofold. Number one, James Gunn will not direct Guardians of the Galaxy Season 3. Now, I've been saying that's probably going to be the case for a long time. I've told you guys, Alan Horn painted, even if Disney wanted to bring him back, they basically can't because Alan Horn painted Disney into a corner when he made those comments he made, right? So even if they wanted to bring them back, and I'm certainly not saying they did, but even if they did, it was highly unlikely they would bring him back, if for no other reason than those comments that Alan Horn made. So, and as I've always said, I didn't agree with the decision to let Gunn go, but I totally understand the decision to let Gunn go. I do. I've always understood it. I do. So I don't fault Disney for making that decision. I do fault Alan Horn for the stupid comments he made, but other than that, I've got no problem with that. So the one result of that meeting was things are staying as they are. James Gunn will not direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. However, it also seems to confirm that they are going to use James Gunn's script. They are going to have James Gunn's script as the script for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, the article goes on to mention, and of course this is obvious, but whenever they do bring on a new director, the new director will probably want to give a polish to the script to put his own thumbprint on it. Totally understandable, nothing wrong with that at all. But it is still ultimately going to be James Gunn's script. That means that despite what Alan Horn said and all that kind of stuff, James Gunn is going to be in the credits of these movies. Written by James Gunn. They'll probably also have him up there as a producer. They might even list him as an executive producer. Remember, when Edgar Wright and Marvel parted ways over Ant-Man, Edgar Wright was still all over the credits as a writer, as a consultant, as executive producer, as all this kind of stuff. James Gunn's name's going to be all over this thing. It's going to be all over it. So here's my question. And that will lead us in today's question of the day. And my question, which is also the question of the day for you guys to answer, is this Disney being hypocritical? Now remember, Alan Horn came on and said, "We're shocked by these things. We are severing all business relationships with James Gunn." Really? Because if he's going to be the writer of your movie and he's going to be all over your credits, that ain't separating all business relationships with James Gunn. That is quite the opposite of separating all business relationships with James Gunn. So is it, on the one hand, we can look at it harshly and say Disney is being hypocritical. By using James Gunn's script, they are being hypocrites. Because Alan Horn, chairman of Disney Studios, said we're severing all business relationships with them. Yeah, and you're still going to have James Gunn's name all over the credits. He's going to write the script. The whole movie's going to be his creation. But you're severing all business relationships with him. Or can we look at it more softly? Can you legitimately look at this and say, you know what? This is Disney and James Gunn coming up with a fair compromise. That's the magic word, compromise. We can look at it harshly. Is this, the hard word is hypocritical? Or is this a compromise? That they come together and say, you know what? We still like you, James. We've hired you. We've worked with you for years. We think you're great. And we want to still use your story. And we're still going to put you on the credits. We'll probably give you an executive producer credit, all that kind of stuff. And who's to say we can't work together again in the future? Right? I mean, that's a possibility. And I'll be honest with you guys, I am of both minds right now. I'm a little bit torn. I don't know. My first knee-jerk reaction to this situation is to look at it and say, Disney's being hypocritical. You said you were severing all business. You said, oh, you were disgusted with this guy. He was separating all business relationships. Then get rid of his script. Don't use his script. Pay the man and then move on. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe you want to let cooler heads prevail. Maybe they're now in a scenario that they can't rehire him, but hey, we still want to be connected with James Gunn. Let's use the script. Let's give him some credits in there. And who knows, let's leave a little crack in the door open that maybe we can still work together in the future. Who knows, right? So I'll be honest with you, I don't know which way. I'm being pulled into, I got the devil and the angel on my shoulders, pulling me back and forth. So that is today's question of the day, guys. How do you perceive this move by Disney right now? Is this hypocritical? And the question is Disney using James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy script hypocritical or a fair compromise? Is Disney using James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script hypocritical or compromise? I'll be honest with you, I'm torn in both directions. Here's how you answer the question. Look in the description of this video. At the very bottom of the description of the video, you will find a link that you can click on that link, go over to the page, and cast your vote. And the options are simple. It's hypocritical or it's a fair compromise. Now, I just said what it is, but let's just check in early and see what you guys are saying on that. What you early adopters, as soon as I mentioned, you just jumped in there and voted. Let's see where we're at right now. Okay, so far, 180 of you have already answered. And it's not lopsided, it's pretty close. But right now, 60.89% of you are saying it's hypocritical of Disney to still use James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script, whereas almost 40% of you are saying, hey, it's a fair compromise. Like, hey, you took them off, but you're still going to use them. Fair compromise. And guys, again, I haven't voted on this poll yet. And I vote every day on the poll. And I have not voted on this poll yet because I am completely torn. Part of me thinks, okay, best of a bad situation. You've come up with a compromise. This is no win, but that's the best of a bad situation. And then the other part of me is, Horn, you made that statement. You said this and this and this. You said, separating all business relationships. You have fired him off the movie. So if you're firing him off the movie, why don't you just fire him off the movie instead of, well, we're firing him off part of the movie. Like, hypocritical. Compromise. Hypocritical. I don't know which way to go on this right now. Maybe I'll totally have a good sense of it tomorrow. But I want to know what you guys think. So once again, description of the video, bottom of the description, click that link to go answer and cast your vote. And we'll check in on this maybe again later towards the end of the show. And then, of course, we'll give the final results tomorrow morning on the John Campea Show then. All right, with all that out of the way, let's go on to our main topics. Now, how do we select our main topics? Well, actually, you guys select our main topics. How do you do that? Simple. By sending me a topic or a question, emailing me at John at the JohnCampeaShow.com. That's John at the JohnCampeaShow.com. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line and keep your emails to 90 words or less, and maybe you will see your topic or question pop up here on the show. All right, with that said, let's get to it. And the first main topic today comes to us from Vivian Lewis. And Vivian Lewis writes, I know you're a fan of Hook. Did you see that there is a new 4K version of the movie coming out and that it will contain 11 never-before-seen deleted scenes from it? I just love that movie and watch it at least once a year. To see new footage of Robin Williams or maybe even Bob Hoskins would be amazing. Thank you. Well, Vivian, you are a girl after my own heart. I adore Hook. I adore it. And, we've talked about this before, but Hook is one of those movies that I just don't get why people don't like it. There are a lot of people who do not like this movie, and I just, for the life of me, I don't get it. All film's subjective. Lots of movies I like that I understand why other people don't. Lots of movies I don't like that I understand why people do. But this is one of those movies I adore, and a ton of people don't like, and I will just never get it. And I have no desire to move up to 4K right now. Like I'm putting off 4K for at least probably another couple of years before I make a transition over. But the one thing that really makes me think I might get this, whether hopefully they make it available on digital as well, or if not, I'll just buy the damn disc, and I don't buy discs anymore, is that 11 never before seen deleted scenes. And the reason isn't just because I'm a sucker for deleted scenes, although I think all of us are to some degree or another, but I'm not a super big geek when it comes to deleted scenes. It's cool to see them, whatever. But you, Vivian, nailed it on the head. The concept of seeing new footage of Robin Williams, who, we will never see new footage of again. The concept of seeing footage of Robin Williams that I have never seen before, that is just too powerful of a motivation, man. I mean, that alone would get me to buy this thing, be it on digital or as a Blu-ray, whatever. That alone is completely worth it to me. Think about that. You can see how much can you say this for the rest of our lives? You can see never before seen stuff of Robin Williams acting on screen in one of my more beloved films of his. It's just too much of a hook. No pun intended, but it is just too much of a hook for me to get me in. And of course, you mentioned Bob Hoskins, and I love Dustin Hoffman in that movie as Hook as well. Bangarang. It's just a great movie all around. It's just such glorious, ridiculous silliness and the heart. I just love this movie. I'm running out of words for it. But yeah, just on that basis alone of seeing never before scenes with Robin Williams, all by itself, that makes it worth it to me to go see it. All right, let's bring up the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Todd Engel, who writes, Hey, John, I really appreciated your point of view and love the show. Well, thank you so much, Todd. My question is, with Pine and Hemsworth walking away from the negotiating table, for now at least, does this make Tarantino's Star Trek concept movie more reality moving forward? Okay, so this has been a hot topic for the last couple of days. Of course, we talked on the John Campea show the other day that in the negotiations to get Star Trek 4 going, both Chris Pine, who is Captain Kirk, and Chris Hemsworth, who was supposed to play Captain Kirk's dad, which he did in the first Star Trek movie, have both walked away from the negotiation table saying, and it's all over money. Paramount said we've got to tighten up our budget a bit because these movies don't get anywhere near $1 billion. Like they make a modest amount of money, so we have to pay our talent modestly too. And Chris Pine said, well, no, I'm not taking a pay cut. And he walked. And I get that. There's no problem with that. No fault on him. No fault on Paramount trying to be financially responsible. No fault on Chris Pine saying, nah, we had an agreement, and if you're not going to pay me that much, then I'm not going to do it. I see it from both of their point of views totally. I will say this, though. Some people have been writing in the idea that, oh, well, here's the option. Chris Pine's the more important one because he's Kirk. Just don't bring on Chris Hemsworth and pay Chris Pine what he wants to be paid. Problem solved. Well, here's the problem with that. If Paramount is saying, look, these Star Trek movies don't make as much as we think they should, and they're only making so much money, and we need to scale back the budget a bit, I can guarantee you Chris Pine isn't the only one being asked to take a little bit of a pay cut. I guarantee you Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, on and on. I guarantee you, like Simon Pegg, I guarantee you the rest of the cast is also being asked to take a little bit of a pay cut to try to get the budget to within a manageable, a reasonable means. You can't now just all of a sudden go, oh, except for him, we're not going to ask him. If they do that, then all of a sudden the rest of the Star Trek cast is going to go, wait a minute, time out. I signed off on taking a little bit of a pay cut for the good of the franchise because you told me it was going to be across the board and everybody was doing it. But I just found out you're not going to make Chris, who probably makes more money on these movies than any of the rest of them. You're telling me Chris isn't taking a pay cut and he's making more than the rest of us? Well, then screw that. Then I'm not taking a pay cut. So Paramount's in a bit of a situation, right? It's going to be interesting to see how all this turns out. Now, let's get on to your question, though. Tarantino. Tarantino has a potential movie in development. Now, he's not writing it. He came up with a concept. He brought it to J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams liked the concept. He said, let's go talk to Paramount. And they all went over to go to Paramount and pitched this idea to Paramount. And Paramount said, that's not a bad idea. Paramount then went out and hired a writer. And a writer is now developing, not Quentin Tarantino, because Tarantino's a little busy on his own movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood right now. So this writer is now taking that idea and that concept that Tarantino and J.J. Abrams pitched, and he's fleshing it out now in a script to see if they can come up with something workable. There's no guarantee that they will, but that's the status that they're at. And the idea is that if they wind up with a good script and something that they think will work, that possibly Quentin Tarantino himself will direct it. Again, none of that is guaranteed, and that's where we're at right now. So, if this Star Trek 4 thing is falling apart, and if they end up not doing Star Trek 4, does that increase the chances that this Tarantino thing is going to happen? All I can do is speculate, but I'm going to say no. I honestly don't think it helps or hinders the Tarantino project whatsoever. I think Paramount has this Tarantino project, this Star Trek Tarantino project in a bubble right now. I really think it's in its own little bubble. And they've got a writer developing something with it to see if they can come up with something. But honestly, I don't think this whole thing with Pine and Hemsworth walking away and if Star Trek 4 is in trouble, I don't think that hurts Tarantino's chances. And I don't think it helps Tarantino's chances. I really don't. I don't think they're looking at it in that way. From everything I've heard, this is really kind of an isolated standalone concept, and we'll see how that all turns out. But for right now, I don't think it's going to affect Tarantino's project, either for good or for bad. Maybe you guys feel different. Jump down to the comments section. Let me know what you think and why you think it. All right, let's move on now to topic number 3. And topic number 3 today comes to us from Carl G, who writes, "Hey John, big fan." Thank you so much, Carl. "I'm really thinking of getting the new DC Universe subscription as I love everything DC. My issue is, with everything going subscription-based these days, how can working class afford a lot of these apps, including Netflix, etc., etc., etc.? Thoughts, John?" Yeah, so we right now are in this great era. First of all, I've been a cable cutter for about 7 years. Maybe 8, maybe 9, maybe 10. I don't know, whatever. But let's place it. I'll say 7 years. I haven't had a cable subscription for like 7 years. I just don't find the need to have it. And I always found it to be way too expensive, paying for all these channels I didn't even want. And I cut the cable years ago and just started getting all my TV, all my entertainment online. Using a Roku, I've used Apple TVs, I've used Amazon Fire Sticks, I've used other Android type gizmos, like whatever. Right now, the Roku is my go-to choice. I have my Roku both in my bedroom and in my living room right now. And I use YouTube TV to watch live TV if I want. YouTube TV also has a lot of other functions, which is great. I highly recommend you check out YouTube TV. It's great. But, you know, I've got Hulu, I've got Netflix, I've got all these different, I've got HBO, I've got all these different services. It's great in one sense because, as we all have talked about for so long, well, it means that I only pay for the stuff that I actually want. Like, for heaven's sakes, I'm paying for CBS All Access for one show. I pay for CBS All Access just so I can watch Star Trek Discovery. I don't watch anything else on CBS All Access. Now, granted, they've got more shows coming, including a new Jean-Luc Picard show. That's great. But, so there's CBS All Access I pay for, blah, blah, blah. And we are now at the point where when you add up all the money I'm spending, and that you're probably spending too, on these individual a la carte services, we're getting close to paying what we were paying for cable in the first place, right? We're getting close. So the skeptic may look at it and say, well, so this whole cord cutting thing was pointless, right? There was no need because now we're not saving any money. You could look at it like that, skeptically. However, a more realistic point of view is this. We are now getting services we never had before that were never going to be a part of cable. A DC Universe streaming service would never have been a part of cable. The way Netflix functions could never have been a part of cable. The way Hulu works could never have been a part of cable. Are we almost now paying the same amount of money that we used to pay for cable? Yes. However, we're also getting services and conveniences and programming today, and a variety of programming today that we never would have had with cable. When everything was at the mercy of the cable companies, innovation was limited. So, skeptically, I can look at it and say, well, what the hell? We're almost paying as much. I'm basically almost paying as much now per month for all this as I was for cable. So what's the point? But realistically, are we almost paying as much now? Maybe. But we're getting a hell of a lot more of things we actually want. Yeah, great. My cable package had 318 channels. I watched about 7 of them. Now, okay, I'm paying almost as much, but everything I'm paying for is something I really like and I think is worth shelling out a couple of bucks a month for. And now we got the DC Universe thing coming, and pretty soon we're going to have the Disney thing coming. And look, we're going to be getting to a point where we as consumers are going to have to start being a little picky about which services we do get and which services we don't get. Yes, that time is coming. And if this DC thing works, and if this Disney thing works, yet hell, you better be sure that a lot of other content creators are going to be looking at creating new streaming services as well of their own that we'll have to pay a couple of bucks a month for. The key here, though, is we're paying as much, but we're getting better content than we ever were. We're only getting content we actually want, and we're getting a more variety of content being delivered in flexible ways that never could have been delivered before. So, while you're right, personally, I still think we as consumers right now have it way better than we did 6 years ago. I really believe that. I really believe that right now we have it much better than we did 6 years ago. And maybe you guys think differently, and that's cool. Do me a favor, jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on that. Okay, let's move on to topic number 4. And topic number 4 today comes to us from Jared McGinera, who writes, wondering if you had any thoughts on the reports that Tom Cruise, is the frontrunner to play Green Lantern. According to the report, Cruise wants to play the role, but that the script apparently calls for Hal Jordan, his character, to die at the end, and Cruise is saying he'll only join the film if they change that. What do you think of that news, and is Cruise right to make those demands? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Jared. So where this is all coming from, what Jared is referring to is, once again, guys, always track it back to the source. Forget which site you saw this as a headline on. Read that site and see where they got it from. All this story comes from is a very little known, you've probably never heard of it, celebrity rumor site. That's where this comes from a site I guarantee you've never even heard of before. That doesn't automatically mean it's not true. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying take it with that grain of salt. When you follow the breadcrumbs, this all goes back to a little website you've never heard of that basically just talks about rumors. Fine. So with that cleared up, is it still possible that this is true? Sure, it's still possible. We've heard that we know Tom Cruise has been looking at being involved in superhero films before. At one point, he was going to be Iron Man. he was going to be Iron Man at one point, and then that didn't work out, and they ended up going with Robert Downey Jr. in one of the great redemption stories in Hollywood history. So we've known for a while he is very keen to be in a superhero movie. And look, he's in his 50s now, so it's like he's got to do one soon. If he's going to get plugged into one, he's going to have to do it soon. So let's go for a moment, just for the sake of the discussion, let's go for a moment with the idea that this report is true. And that Tom Cruise is the person they're looking at to play Hal Jordan, and that he does want to do it, but that there is a script, which, by the way, I'm not even sure a script actually exists, but if there does, let's just go with that for now. The script has Hal Jordan dying at the end, and Cruise is saying, hey, I'm all for getting plugged into this franchise, but I want more than one film. So if you want me on board, take out the Hal Jordan thing dying at the end. Number one, what would I think about that if all that's true? I think it's great. Look, Tom Cruise, despite the fact that he's in his mid-50s now, he has shown us, again now with Fallout, over and over again, he can still deliver the kick-ass action. He can deliver the goods when it comes to action films. He's still in that place, and he's still completely believable doing it. So he's still in that place. So, and he's a fantastic actor. The dude has no less than 3 Academy Award nominations. He's never won, but he's got 3 Academy Award nominations. There are great actors out there who've never had one. All right. So he's a solid actor. He's a big star, and he can still deliver on great action films. So what is there not to like about the idea of a Tom Cruise playing Green Lantern, a Hal Jordan Green Lantern? Sure, I'd be all for it. Absolutely. Okay, now let's go to the second part of your question. Is Cruise right if this report is true at all? And again, we're just saying for the sake of the discussion, let's assume it is. Is Tom Cruise right to make that demand? Absolutely, he's right. Look, if you come to me and say, hey, John, can you please be in my little student film, and I want you to wear this Montreal Canadiens shirt. It's totally my prerogative to say, okay, but Toronto Maple Leafs, bitch, I ain't wearing a Habs jersey. So you can take that thing away. If you guys know anything about Canadian sports culture, Habs, Leafs, greatest sports rivalry of all time, by the way. Yankees, Red Sox, nothing compares to Leafs, Habs rivalry. Anyway. And it's totally within my right to say, okay, well, if you want me to be in your movie, fine, but I'll do it, but only if I don't have to do that. It's totally my prerogative to say that. And if DC is coming to Tom Cruise and saying, we want you in this movie, it's totally fair for Tom Cruise to say, okay, I do it if A, B, C, and D. There's nothing wrong with him laying out some conditions. Then it's DC's choice if they can live with those conditions or not. So remember, most likely this whole story isn't even true in the first place. It's a 90% certainty that there's no truth to this story in the first place. But for the sake of discussion, let's go with the 10%. And going with that 10% that it's a true story, number one, I love the idea of Tom Cruise being Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and a slightly older Hal Jordan. All for it. Number two, Cruise is totally within his rights, if that's true, to say, hey, I've been looking to get involved in a comic book movie, but I want to do more than one. So I'm not going to waste a year and a half of my time preparing for shooting and doing press tours for your comic book movie when I could be doing another one if you're only planning on putting me in one and not using me in a potential sequel. It's totally reasonable for Tom Cruise to say that. If he wants, because that's where he's at in his career. He'd like to knock out a couple of comic book films. Why sign up for one where you're only going to get one? Why not sign up for one where you're guaranteed to get 2 or maybe 3, right? And if that's what he wants, then the ball's in DC and Warner Brothers court, if the story's true, to decide if they can live with that. And if they can't, if they're like, nope, it's absolutely essential to our story that Hal Jordan dies at the end. If that's where they're at, then say, hey, Tom, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. We respect your decision. We're going to move on and look elsewhere. And Tom will go, no problem, guys. Good luck. I'm going to go look for another superhero movie to be a part of. Just that simple. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. What do you guys think? Would you guys be down for Tom Cruise playing a Hal Jordan in a Green Lantern movie? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, we go on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today Comes to us from Roman Bryant, who writes, Ewan McGregor said there is no Obi-Wan spinoff in the works, but I heard there was a few months ago. Did the failure of Solo cause this? I hope not, because a lot of people, including myself, have wanted this spinoff more than others. Your thoughts? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, there have been a lot of talks lately, a lot of discussion, a lot of rumors, everything about a new Obi-Wan movie. They brought on a director a while ago to start developing. That was never officially confirmed, but that's what all the reputable trades said. And then there was a rumor that came out that that Disney was killing all the anthology movies, to which Disney quickly responded the next day saying, yeah, no, that's not true. We're still developing them. So that's all still happening. So here's the situation. Ewan McGregor's on a show the other day, and he specifically asked about Obi-Wan. Here's Ewan McGregor's direct quote. Ewan McGregor said the following. He said, there is no plans as such to do it. As far as I know, I've been asked this question for years and years. I'd be happy to do it. There must be a good story to tell as they're doing spin-offs. There's likely to be a good Obi-Wan between me and Alec Guinness. So that's Ewan McGregor's quote about it, saying there's no plans as such as far as I know. I've been asked the question for years. I'd be happy to do it. There must be a good story to tell. So a lot of people are saying, well, then there you have it. Either A, they're not doing an Obi-Wan movie, or B, they're doing an Obi-Wan movie and it's not going to have Ewan McGregor. That's a real possibility. Now, let me preface all this by saying the following. Number one, my first choice as a fan, if you're going to do an Obi-Wan movie, is to have Ewan McGregor. I just don't see any really good, valid reason why not to have Ewan McGregor do it. He's great in the role. One of the few good things about the prequels at all. He's really good in the role. Use Ewan McGregor. He wants to do it. The fans want him to do it. Use him. But I will also say this. I'm also okay if they recast. I'm totally okay if they recast. I would prefer them to use Ewan McGregor. But hey, if you can find a great actor that fits your schedule better and all that kind of stuff, and the actor's great and wonderful, and he can deliver us a great Obi-Wan. If Disney's philosophy is, hey, this era's Obi-Wan was Ewan McGregor, this era's Obi-Wan was Alec Guinness, we're going to get, since we're doing a third era right now, it seems to make sense to us to have a third actor play that different era, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then we'll have three different portrayals of Obi-Wan from three different time periods. Again, that's not what I would do. I would use Ewan McGregor. But I'm okay with it if they don't, and that's fine. So, yeah, as a Star Wars fan, I'm completely okay. Not my first choice. I'll be a little disappointed, but I'll get on board with it as long as you get a really good actor. If you get a really good actor to play the role and he can do a good job, then I see no legitimate reason why not. Right? But still, get Ewan McGregor. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get to the real heart of this thing. The real heart of this thing is this statement from Ewan McGregor means nothing. There are people reading this statement saying, oh, well, that confirms it. They're either not doing it or it's not going to be with Ewan McGregor. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you expect Ewan McGregor to say? Let's put it this way. What we know for a fact, Disney and Lucasfilm have made no official statement about the Obi-Wan movie. We know they brought on a director, but that was what we found out from the actual real trades, that they brought on a director to start developing something. Okay, we know that much, but we also know that Lucasfilm and Disney have never officially acknowledged that they're doing it, right? So, right now, that is Disney and Lucasfilm's policy. We are not officially confirming anything about Obi-Wan right now. We're making no official statements about it. We're not saying we're doing it. We're not saying anything about the Obi-Wan movie right now. Okay? We know that. So now Ewan McGregor's on a show and he gets asked about Obi-Wan. What is Ewan McGregor supposed to say? What is he supposed to say? He can't say, yes, we're working on it, because that is not what Disney wants out there right now. So Ewan can't say, let's say, for example, that they are working on it and Ewan McGregor is involved. He can't say yes. He cannot answer yes to that question. He just can't. There is no conceivable way he can say yes. He has to say, I don't know. I mean, not that I know of. I mean, that's all he can say. He can't say anything else. Because if he says yes, well, there goes everything. Now Lucasfilm and Disney have to deal with that. When Lucasfilm and Disney right now don't want any official word out. Ewan McGregor also cannot say, I can't comment on that. Because that gives away the answer. If he says, I can't comment on that, that pretty much confirms everything, right? So the only thing Ewan McGregor can do, and the only thing Ewan McGregor can say, whether they're not developing a new Obi-Wan movie with him, or even if they are totally developing a new Obi-Wan movie with him, the only thing that Ewan McGregor can say is, there's no plans as such to do it as far as I know. That's the only thing Ewan McGregor can say. So look, this statement to me neither makes it more likely that it's happening or any less likely that it's happening. Ultimately, this statement means nothing because there is no other option. There is nothing else that Ewan McGregor can say in that situation. He gets asked a question about something he cannot give an answer for. The only thing you can say is, oh no, they're not doing that as far as I know. That's the only thing you can say. And look, it does not mean they are doing it, but it certainly doesn't mean they're not doing it. And I will say this. Again, let me reiterate. I totally want them to do it with Ewan McGregor if they move forward with this. But at the same time, if they are moving forward and it's not with Ewan McGregor, I'm okay with that. Give it a shot. Let's see what happens. The 3 eras, 3 different portrayals, I'm on board, fine, give it a shot. I still think the best idea is to use Ewan McGregor, but if you're not, I'm not going to be a crybaby about it and say, well, then I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to do that. I'll say, okay, fine, get in a new actor. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. But yeah, guys, just use Ewan McGregor. It just seems like the better choice, but whatever. Okay, guys, that will do it for the emailed in main topics today. We still got some time left, so we're going to go over and take some live questions from you guys. And we've already got, wow, a whole hell of a lot of live questions. So let's get started on these things right now. And the first live question comes to us from Leo Milmet, who writes, Christoph Beck's score for Tower Heist is amazing. He follows it up with, but the movie itself is really bad. You know, I'm going to say this, Leo. It's been too long since I've seen Tower Heist to actually have an opinion as to what I thought of the score. I can't remember the score. I honestly, it's just been too many years since I've seen it. But I will say this. I didn't think Tower Heist was all that bad. Look, it wasn't a great movie, clearly, because I haven't watched it in years, but it wasn't a great movie. But I remember watching it and then coming out, and it's that Eddie Murphy one, right? I remember coming out of that movie and going, you know, that movie should have been worse. That movie should have been worse. And I thought it had some decent laughs in it. I think Matthew Broderick was in that too, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, had some decent laughs in it. And it was okay. I actually thought Tower Heist was an okay little movie. Not great, not all-time memorable, nothing ridiculous like that. Unfortunately, to the main part of your thing about the score, it's just, again, it's been too long since I've seen it, so I can't remember. Do you guys remember watching Tower Heist? And if so, do you remember the score? If so, jump into the comment section. Let Leo know what you think about the score and his thoughts on it. All right, Bruce Wayne writes, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. That's a great Michael Keaton quote from the first Batman. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. That's a great little line. And the way Michael Keaton did it was so crazy and like all of a sudden out of character in a good way. It was one of the many great moments of that movie. I really like that line. And thank you for quoting a Batman movie that wasn't Batman and Robin. Ben Hayusa writes, did a double feature over the weekend by watching 93 Jurassic Park and 95 Jumanji. Nice. 2 of my favorite 90s films for sure. Also, guess bye-bye Batista. No, remember Batista said, Dave Batista really wanted James Gunn brought back. Yes. But when he said his quote about, I'm going to ask to be released if they don't use his script. Well, it looks like they are using his script. Now, that doesn't mean Dave Batista still won't feel comfortable enough to come back. He might ask to be let out of his contract. Again, Disney holds all the cards because they've got a contract with them. They don't have to let him out of it. But let's just be clear. Dave Batista said, I'm going to ask to be released from my contract if they don't use his script. Well, apparently they're using a script. So, yeah, I wouldn't say bye-bye Batista just yet. Jay Bling writes, when you and Rob said cut Oscar best song last night, did you mean performances? If so, I agree, but Celine Dion must perform Ashes at the Oscars with Dancing Deadpools this year. You could actually open the show with that. You could open the Oscars. They usually open the Oscars with some kind of a musical number. Why not open the Oscars with Ashes and a bunch of Dancing Deadpools? That would be great. So, listen, when I say get rid of the best song category, I'd be okay if they just axed the category altogether and got rid of it. But what I'm really normally talking about is this. The Oscars give more screen time to the most insignificant award of the evening, Best Song. A song plays for a minute or two in a movie, whereas Best Director is responsible for the whole 2-hour movie. And yet at the Oscars, the category of Best Song gets about 7 or 8 minutes of screen time when you add up all the songs being performed. The most insignificant award of the night gets the most screen time. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Giving the most screen time to the least significant award and the least important. That song plays for a minute or two in the movie and has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. So I'm fine with keeping the category, but I've always thought that instead of using 7 minutes of screen time to perform all 5 songs or 10 minutes of screen time to perform all 5 songs, you know what? Do a 2-minute medley of the 5 songs. So like 20 seconds of this song, like bring out 2 or 3 big stars to sing 20 or 30 seconds of the one song, then that transitions into 20 or 30 seconds of another song, which then segues into 20, and make it like 2 or 3 minutes of screen time instead of 10 minutes of screen time. Because there is just no excuse for Best Song getting triple the screen time that Best Screenplay gets, or triple the screen time that Best Director gets. There's no excuse for that. So I've never said get rid of the category altogether. I just think really what they really need to do is just get rid of the idea of every single song that gets nominated gets to give a full performance of the song. Ridiculous. I've always thought that was ridiculous. Even though there's some great songs, for sure, but give the most time to the most important things. That's called prioritizing. Anyway, that's just my thought on that, Jay Bling. Ben Hayusa writes, and RIP to the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. We heard the other day, of course, that Aretha Franklin was gravely ill. We, of course, all this morning got the very sad news that one of simply the most God-given, gifted singer in history. We lost her today. Aretha Franklin, I believe she was 76. Aretha Franklin died of, I think they said pancreatic cancer. And just a horrible loss, right? That woman, oh my God. I just don't know that anybody's ever been so naturally God-gifted with pipes like hers. Oh my God, that woman. She could sing, man. Like, it's like when she would sing, you would see heaven open. I mean, it was just, it was crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, we've absolutely lost one of the absolute titans. We've lost one of the absolute titans. Adamus95 writes, what gets to me is that although James Gunn's tweets were very distasteful, they're just tweets, while Victor Salva, who is a convicted pedophile and still gets to make movies. I find that more offensive. Hey, look, Adamus, you're not going to get any disagreement from me on that, obviously. At the end of the day, he wrote some really stupid, idiotic, moronic, how stupid fucking dumb are you that you would write those kinds of tweets, but they were tweets. And they were jokes. But I totally get it that there were people who were very hurt and offended by that. And that's why I've always said, while I don't agree with Disney letting him go, I get it. I do. I understand. And I'm okay with it. It's not what I would have done, but I'm okay with it. The fact of the matter is, Adamus, a lot of this blowback, and I'm not going to get political here, okay? But a lot of the blowback comes because, look, a lot of the blowback he's getting from a lot of quadrants would not be coming if James Gunn were not a vocal opponent of Donald Trump. If James Gunn was not vocally against President Trump, a lot of the quadrants that are firing on him wouldn't bother be firing on him right now. There are a bunch of people who still would be because they're very hurt and offended by what it is they found out he tweeted 8, 9, 10 years ago. I get that. So that's fine. But there are many nuances to this situation. I think we all have to acknowledge that. There are many nuances to the situation. So, yeah, there's that. But yeah, again, Adamus, no disagreement from me, man. You make a totally valid point. Chris Lopez writes, though Russo brothers confirmed it, I find it funny that Cap and Widow are dating, even though in Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain encouraged Banner to date Natasha. Here's an interesting thing, Curtis, and I'm glad you're bringing this up. Where did the Russos confirm this? Where did the Russos confirm this? I remember watching Ultron, or not Ultron, I'm sorry, Infinity War. And like somebody said to me, hey, do you think that Cap and Widow are dating? I saw nothing in the movie to suggest they're dating now. Like nothing at all suggested that. But then I got a text message from Robert Meyer Burnett who said, man, did you hear the Russos confirm that Black Widow and Captain America are dating? And I said, really? I said, where did they say that? And he said, in the director's commentary. I'm like, wow, now this is before I saw the director's commentary. And I think before Rob saw the director's commentary, I think he just heard that it was in the director's commentary. I then watched, later on, I was watching the director's commentary, and I never heard them say anything about that. Now, maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear them say a single thing about that. So please, guys, I'm not saying that the Russos haven't said it, but can you guys share a link in the comments section or email me? Email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Just email me, john@thejohncampeashow.com. And don't put the word topic in the subject line. Just put, I don't know, Cap and Widow in the subject line and send me a link. If you know of a link where the Russo brothers confirm that, I am dying to see it because I haven't seen that yet. Because I watched the commentary and I didn't hear them say anything about it unless I sneezed and I missed them saying something. Jump down in there and let me know what you guys can tell me. Let's see. Jedi Kim writes, heard about weird pictures of James Gunn online. Thoughts? Been asked this about 10 times in the last 5 days. Jedi, I'll say the same thing. There was a picture that James Gunn himself put up on his personal website ages ago, like even before most of the tweets. And some people are saying he was at a pedophile theme party. No, it wasn't. It was a TV party that was themed on to catch the TV show To Catch a Predator, which was a popular show for a while in that era. And there was a theme for that, and he put it up. It wasn't discovered. He put it up publicly. It was before the tweets. Quite frankly, to me, the tweets are way worse because he was at a themed party and dressed like a Catholic priest, obviously mocking Catholic priests who are pedophiles, right? Obviously mocking that. And people took it, twisted it to fit into a narrative, and whatever. To me, it's a total non-story. Curtis Lopez writes, some days I wish we got a movie that starred a trifecta of Robin Williams, Eddie Murphy, and Jim Carrey. I'll be honest with you, while I love all three of those guys in their heyday, I honestly don't know that that's a chemistry that would have worked. I don't think you can have somebody with the manic power and charisma of like Robin Williams, like, wah! And a Jim Carrey who can also be a wah! I think that's disproportionate. I don't think that would be a good chemistry. I think when you have a Robin Williams or a Jim Carrey, you need other elements to offset that, not more elements to heighten that. You know what I mean? So I don't know that a movie like that would have ever worked, even though all three of those guys, particularly Eddie Murphy in his day, were completely brilliant. I just don't know that the balance of a movie would work so well with that because like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey both going, whoa! Like I just think it's too much. So I honestly don't know if that would have worked. But who knows? Maybe it would have been the greatest thing ever. Next up, 23 Mark B writes, totally agree that James Gunn should not have been fired, but why are people acting as if no one else can direct the next Guardian movie? I mean, look, that's the thing too. There are other good directors out there. They can go get another director. They're still using James Gunn's script. They can go get a talented director to come in, put a polish on the script, and make their own movie, and it could be great. Right? So if we get beyond the whole issue about should they or should they not have let go of James Gunn and all that kind of stuff, once you move beyond that, honestly, there's no reason why they couldn't get in another director and that another director couldn't do a very good job too. Right? So I completely agree with you, Mark, on that, 100%. Olivier Mahouin writes, I hope James Gunn's successor won't be a yes man. Well, I mean, that's all up to Kevin Feige, but Kevin Feige's never just hired yes men, right? Kevin Feige has always gotten out and gotten really great directors to work with because that's what's best for his movie. Now, look, Kevin Feige is ultimately the one in charge, and that's the way it should be. But Kevin Feige brings in filmmakers and he says, okay, here's your parameters. Here's your boundaries. Don't go outside of this. Don't go outside of this. Don't go outside of this, and make sure we end up here. But everything else inside those boundaries, go nuts. Go nuts. As long as, you know, these tent poles here, this, and this, anything else in there, you do your thing. And it's a really good compromise of balancing maintaining the overall direction of the MCU while giving directors a large degree, not total, but a large degree of creative freedom to do their thing. So I wouldn't be worried about that at all. Kevin Feige doesn't seem to just go out and hire yes men. He lets people do their thing. And I think he'll continue to do that. All right. Carnell B writes, assuming the art of creating a fully digital human performance on screen were flawlessly mastered, also known as the Uncanny Valley, which we've not gotten to yet, do you have any thoughts on what's the next leap or challenge in digital effects could be? None. I mean, honestly, the Uncanny Valley, and that's kind of a term that's used when talking about the fact that you can just never quite do human beings and really convince the human eye that that's an actual human being, right? They call it the Uncanny Valley. It's just the phrase they've used for that. They have never been able to get over that hump. They will at some point. They're getting closer and closer, but they've still never been able to truly do it. But the thing is, the Uncanny Valley really is the last frontier when it comes to digital effects. Everything else can be improved a little bit, but when you're talking about true frontiers of digital effects, that's the last one. There's nothing else to do once you accomplish that. Now, you'll always get some people that do it better than others, but once you truly get over that horizon of the Uncanny Valley, and that's now in your rear view mirror, and we now have the technology and the skills to do it and do it flawlessly, that's it. I mean, really, there's nowhere else to go. Except make, incremental improvements on fur, incremental improvements on how water looks, incremental improvements on this and incremental improvements on that. And that will always be an ongoing process. But really, as far as big, major visual effects milestones goes, there's nothing left to do after the Uncanny Valley. There's nothing else in visual effects say they've never been able to do that right. Nah, they've done everything else now. I mean, we totally believe animals look real. We totally believe spaceships look real. We totally believe, fur and wind and environments look real. The only thing left is really convincing us that a human digital character is actually human. Once they do that, that's it. The only thing after that is incremental improvement. So that's kind of where I think, and it's kind of where we are. Carnell B follows up with, I was 9 or 10 when I saw Flight of the Navigator. We talked about that movie the other day. I remember thinking, this is a good movie. And that was long before they ever got in the ship, which isn't till the halfway point. I just purchased it to confirm. Yep, 45-minute mark of 90 minutes. That was a movie. It's funny you bring this up, Carnell, because the other day, it might have even been you, I don't remember, but somebody brought up this movie the other day. And we were talking about, is that a good movie ripe for a remake? And I think absolutely yes, because there's a lot of people who haven't seen that movie. It would totally benefit from modern visual effects, and it's a great story to tell. That is a story of wonder and whimsy. And you know what? It's very difficult these days to capture that sense of wonder. Very few movies capture that sense of wonder, like the original Jurassic Park did. Like to me, what The Princess Bride did. The Princess Bride was less wonder and more charm, but very few movies today can capture that sense of wonder. And I thought Navigator was one of those films that really captured the wonder of it, right? The imagination and the wonder of it. And what really goes towards the quality of the story was it wasn't just about the spaceship and the sci-fi elements and all that kind of stuff. It was just a good story being told with good characters and a good script, proven by the fact of the point that you're making. And look, it wasn't even until like halfway through the film that they even got to that other stuff. It was a solid, good movie already. And then all that other stuff just added to it. Now, I never timed it out myself, and quite frankly, I can't even, if you were to ask me right now, hey, John, did they get to the ship at the halfway point? I honestly wouldn't remember, so I'm just taking your word for it here, Carnell, but it is a testimony to the overall quality of the film. And why I completely believed, like I said the other day, that A Navigator is a prime candidate to be remade. For a couple of reasons. One, because it would benefit from modern storytelling. I think you can introduce a new audience to it. But also, it's been proven in studies that when you introduce a remake, more people will go and check out the original. And I think doing a remake right now could introduce a lot of people to that original who maybe have never given it a chance. So I see nothing but a win-win there. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. That Flight of the Navigator, such a special little movie, and special on multiple levels. It's a quality movie, not just for the gimmick of it or the sci-fi element of it. It's just a quality movie, and I really like your observation. Thanks for pointing that out, Carnell. All right. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, I'm moving to Burbank soon. If I meet you, can I buy you a burger? Your favorite Tom Cruise movie and favorite Tom Cruise performance. You know what? We were talking about Tom Cruise earlier. 3 Academy Award nominations. You look at a couple of them, like, say, Born on the 4th of July. He was nominated for Best Lead Actor for that. But honestly, my favorite performance of his, well, there's 2. My 2 favorite performances of his are both supporting characters. One was Magnolia, and that wasn't a very big role. But I thought his performance in Magnolia, off the charts. I think one of his finest performances ever, and it wasn't even that big of a role. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he did get an Academy Award nomination for that performance. I believe he got an Academy Award nomination for that performance. And he was just spectacular in it. And again, it wasn't a major role, but he was great. The other one, Tropic Thunder, Les Grossman, Tropic Thunder, with Ludacris, Get Back playing, doing his thing. I mean, look, you can say, just a silly comedy. Look, he threw himself. And I still contend, guys, that movie saved Tom Cruise's career. I will argue till I'm blue in the face, Tropic Thunder saved Tom Cruise's career. A lot of people forget that a lot of people had a very negative view of Tom Cruise at the time. A lot of the antics that were going on, all the external stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it looked like his career was going to start to sputter and stumble a bit. And then he did that. Totally threw caution to the wind, went balls to the wall ridiculous, and did a great job at it. Gave us a completely memorable character. Dude, I'm telling you what, every 6 months I still jump on YouTube just to look at that end credit scene with Tom Cruise as Les Grossman doing his dance to Ludacris. It's one of the best things on the internet, like ever. And I still contend that saved his career. Favorite Tom Cruise movie? I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I mean, Top Gun obviously clearly comes to mind. A Few Good Men is fantastic. I love that movie. A whole bunch of other ones, but those are my 2 favorite performances of his. All right, let's move on here. Antonio de Grandis writes, hey, John, what were your thoughts on Mission Impossible 6 Fallout? Well, I've talked about that actually quite a bit, Antonio. I liked it a lot. It's not my favorite Mission Impossible film. I still think Ghost Protocol, I think, is still the standard for Mission Impossible films, but I thought Fallout was really good. I think it's my second favorite. You know, at first I said it was my third favorite because I thought Ghost Protocol and then Rogue Nation and then Fallout. But the more I think about it, I think Fallout's better than Rogue Nation. So my second favorite Mission Impossible movie, great action, good story, just an all-around good movie, man. Just a good, enjoyable film. Not in my top 3 favorite films of the year per se, but a great film. I highly recommend everybody to go out and check it out when you get a chance. Let's see. Jake C. writes, after episode 9, do you think we'll keep getting trilogies every 5 to 10 or 10 to 15 years, or one movie every few years forever? Honestly, I don't even know if Disney's 100% made their mind up on that. I still believe, here's what I think. I think we're going to get about a 3-year break after episode 9. And then I think we're going to get episode 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I believe they're going to keep, I think Star Wars episodic movies will be forever. I could be wrong about that. I mean, I don't know. But I'm just saying my speculation is that I believe we're always going to get Star Wars episodic movies. They may take a couple of years off now after episode 9's done. But yeah, I completely believe there will then be Star Wars episode 10. I completely believe that. 10, 11, 12, then 13, 14, 15, then on and on and on. So yeah, I believe, and I don't believe it's going to be every 10 to 15 years. I think they'll take a couple of years off, and then we'll get episode 10. And again, I could be completely wrong about that. I'm not claiming that as any insider information whatsoever, just my thoughts and my speculation. All right, Zach Bartron writes, there was about 180 behind-the-scenes photos from Jaws 2 uncovered last week. What are your brief thoughts on the film as it celebrates its 40th anniversary? Oh, wow, really? Is Jaws 2 turning 40? Wow. I thought it was great. It was a great sequel. Yeah, it was, look, it was very much the same movie as Jaws 1. But aside from the first Jaws, it's clearly the best Jaws movie ever. Look, the first Jaws is the best shark movie ever. Jaws 2, I believe, is firmly the second best shark movie ever. And then there's everything else that comes after that. But no, and having Roy Schneider back was great. I really liked the film. Then it started to get wonky, like with Jaws 3 in 3D. And I think Louis Gossett Jr. was in Jaws 3 as well. And I still remember just watching it. I was really young, but watching that movie going, what? Like, it just started going off the rails. And then they had that Jaws movie with Michael Caine where there's another shark and it's got a personal vendetta against the family. What? Anyway, it's totally weird, totally strange. But the second one, yeah, I believe firmly the second greatest shark movie of all time, only behind the original Jaws. Zach Bartron follows up with, episode 9 split into 2 parts. Yeah, Renee, there's no such thing as splitting it into 2 parts. It would simply be episode 9 and then episode 10. I mean, that's all there is to it. So I do not believe they're splitting it into 2 parts. I don't think they are. And unless they have a 500-page script, there's no reason to. Right? And even then, it's not really splitting. It's just be episode 9, and then, then we're going to tell another story, episode 10. But I don't think they're going to. I've seen no legitimate thing. That's not to say it's impossible. Let's be clear. That is not to say it's impossible. I've just seen no legitimate information from any legitimate source that says that that's even a possibility at this point, to be honest with you. But who knows? Anything is possible. Let's see here. Technovine writes, screw Thanos Snap, Netflix Marvel standalone. Screw Thanos Snap, Netflix Marvel stands alone. Oh, you're saying, yeah, the Netflix Marvel series are completely immune to the Thanos Snap. Yeah, I thought there might be some reference in Luke Cage season 2. Nope, none. Obviously no reference whatsoever in Iron Fist, at least not in the trailer for Iron Fist 2. We'll see what happens, but yet another sign that the Netflix shows really stand completely outside of the MCU. Regardless of how much they say they're in the same universe, they're very vaguely connected. And the fact that there's not even a brief mention of the events of Infinity War kind of just goes to prove that even more. Sebastian Reboot writes, I need to clarify, 8:15 open mics. I do not know what we're talking about, Sebastian. Sorry about that. Raymond Verada writes, saw Buy Bust, a well-shot Filipino action thriller about a drug bust in the slums of Manila. Heroes fight their way out like The Raid at AMC Burbank. Yeah, you know what's funny? Ann and I, and of course my wife Ann is Filipino. Ann and I, we're always walking by the AMC Burbank 16. And we always notice there's always like one theater that's got like a Filipino movie in it. Some like Filipino, she's like, let's go see it, honey. She doesn't really want to see it, but she goes, let's go see it. So I'm not surprised, but you saw it. I'm curious to know if you liked it or not. I have never even heard of the film, obviously, but I would be curious to know if you thought it was okay or not. But it is crazy seeing, I guess there's a big film industry coming out of the Philippines. So, hey, there you go. Maybe Ann and I should move to the Philippines and I should do my show from there. Let's see. Sebastian follows up with etiquette. My experience is subscriptions and $5 Tuesdays bring in people that don't value the experience. Your thoughts? Oh, well, I disagree. Because I think the people who are buying subscriptions are the more hardcore fans. I think the first adopters to these subscription services, whether it's a Cinemia or a MoviePass or a Cineworld or a Cinemark Movie Club or an AMC A-List or whatever, I'm finding the first adopters are the people who are more serious about their movies. They're the ones who really like their movies. So I find, the people getting A-list are, A-list particularly, are the people who do value the movie-going experience. As a matter of fact, seriously, Ann and I went to go see Crazy Rich Asians last night. It's insane. The theater was full, but it was insane how many people were there are A-list members. Because when you use A-list, the only thing you got to do is you can show your phone so they can scan your A-list pass, and then you just got to show them your ID to show that it's really you. And we're in this line. It's like, oh my gosh, everybody's showing their IDs. Like, these are all AMC A-list members. And you know what? Perfect etiquette in the theater. I saw perfect etiquette in the theater last night. Absolutely perfect. But then again, I honestly think etiquette in general has improved over the past 15 years. Now look, I still from time to time hear the odd rude person in a theater. From time to time, the odd person pulling out a cell phone. I still see that, yes. But I'm telling you what, compared to about 10 years ago, I find the experience to be much better now than it was 10 years ago. Now, maybe that's just because I'm living in Los Angeles that is very serious about its movies, and maybe it's different in other places. But yeah, I honestly think that the subscription people are people who actually value the experience more. At least they're the early adopters. That's just my opinion, though. I could be wrong about that, but that's just kind of how I see it. All right. Next up, Santez Hernandez writes, really looking forward to Jack Ryan on Prime. I like some of their shows, but this looks like the kind of show Prime needs to draw more people in. Yeah, look, we talked about that the other day. John Krasinski from A Quiet Place in the Office is your new Jack Ryan. The first trailer dropped a few weeks ago. It's coming out soon. Actually, might even be out already. I think it comes out this month, I think. Anyway, it looks solid, looks sharp. I mean, so we got John Krasinski picking up the baton. That was Alec Baldwin, most famously Harrison Ford, and of course Ben Affleck played Jack Ryan once. And I think the series looks really solid, Santez. I'm completely with you on that. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Next up, Peter Rufus writes, Lord and Miller for Guardians 3, or is the Disney bridge burned? Maybe just Lucasfilm bridge burned. I got a feeling the Disney bridge might be burned. Because honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that they had to go back and practically reshoot the entire movie, Solo may have broken even. Solo probably would have broken even. It wouldn't have made money, but it would have broken even, or at least come close to broken even. The fact that they had to go back and reshoot most of that movie is the reason why that movie lost so much. They probably lost close to $200 million in that movie. They probably lost close to $200 million in that movie. And I think Disney probably holds Lord and Miller responsible for that. Because, look, Lord and Miller went off the rails. They agreed to make a certain kind of movie, and then they totally went off and started doing their own thing. And it's completely, look, and I love Lord and Miller. You guys have heard me review their movies before. I love Lord and Miller. But I completely get why Lucasfilm was pissed. They're like, look, we sat down, we talked, we agreed. This is the script, this is the movie you're going to make. And you've practically thrown the whole thing out with what you're doing. And they decided they had to replace them. And look, I don't know if their movie would have been any good. I do know the one that Ron Howard made was a good, solid, fun movie. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think maybe the Disney bridge is burned. So I wouldn't expect to see them directing Guardians of the Galaxy. Especially with a Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige has a very firm grip. And if he says these are our boundaries, and Lord Miller just want to bust everybody's boundaries and do whatever they want to do, that's not good for a cinematic universe. So I honestly don't know that we would. But look, I'm still dying to see whatever movie Lord Miller do next. I'm dying to see because I think they're great filmmakers. But you got to be able to work within a franchise if you're going to do a film in a franchise. So anyway, there's that. Let's see. Santez Hernandez follows up. I finally did it. I got my wife to watch Lord of the Rings. Awesome. She liked them a lot. Now, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh, that's awesome if your wife's never watched Raiders. You know what's really fun? My wife had never watched Raiders either. This is going back years. And one of the local theaters started doing once a month, they showed one of the original trilogy of Indiana Jones. 1 month they showed Raiders. The next month they showed Temple. The next month they showed Last Crusade. And we went to the theaters to watch them all. She got to see Raiders of the Lost Ark, all 3 films, for the first time on the big screen in a movie theater. And she loved them. My wife absolutely loved those movies, particularly Temple of Doom, she said was her favorite. So that's awesome when it's always a nerve-wracking experience when you're watching a movie or a series of movies that you love, the other person hasn't seen yet. and you're not sure how they're going to respond, and it's always such a relief when they like them. So good on you, Santaz. That's great. Sebastian writes, and guys, we've gone way over time, so I'm just going to answer these next two questions, and we're going to have to wrap it up today. Sebastian writes, independent films future. Would have never seen Mr. Rogers in big box, absent movie pass. Your thoughts? A-list offering more. Use some of those empty screens. Well, there are no empty screens. Independent films. Well, yeah, I mean, that is one of the good things about things like A-list, Cinemia, Movie Pass, whatever, is that you might be willing to go check out some films that you otherwise may not have checked out before, like a Mr. Rogers or something else, or maybe that Filipino action movie that Raymond was just talking about, right? That is one of the big benefits. I don't know what you mean by use some of those empty screens. Theaters ain't got no empty screens. There's so many movies that get produced these days. There are never empty screens. But yeah, absolutely, Sebastian. One of the benefits of these Movie Pass services, be it A-List or Cinemark, whatever, is that it gives people some flexibility. You know what? I wasn't going to see that movie. Like, go spend $15 on it. But hey, I got my movie club card. Yeah, I'm going to go see it. That is one of the big benefits. And I think we're going to see that pay off dividends long term. All right. Final question of the day comes us from Tim Sim, who writes, probably the best compromise we could have had. I don't want Guardians 3 to be a repeat situation of Iron Man 3 at least, or The Last Jedi at the worst. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that is one way to look at it. Again, that is totally half my brain, that this whole thing about keeping James Gunn's script, probably keeping him in the credits, and even probably including him as an executive producer, it's probably a good compromise. Then again, you can also totally look at it like it's totally hypocritical of Disney. We're severing all business relationships. Then why are you using his script? That's a business relationship, my friend. The other thing is, too, by putting him in there, it does leave the slightest crack of the door open that says, hey, we could work together again in the future. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. But it leaves a little crack of a door open for a slight possibility of it. So who knows? Once again, guys, that's the question of the day. Jump down, check out the link, bottom of the description below. You'll find the link. Go and cast your vote. Is this hypocritical of Disney to use his script? Or is it a good compromise for them to use the script? Let me know what you guys think. You know what? Let's check out right now. See if any more of you guys have voted, and then we'll wrap up today's show. So on the question, is Disney using James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script hypocritical or a compromise? And oh my God, it is close. 51% of you right now are saying it's hypocritical. 49% of you are saying it's a good compromise. We'll get the final results on tomorrow's show. Keep voting, guys, and we'll let you know how all that goes. All right, guys, for the rest of you who have sent in questions from Croc1513 all the way down, don't worry, your questions will be answered in a video. I'm going to be recording a bunch of companion videos tonight. Your questions will get answered in an upcoming companion video over the next few days. Keep your eyes open for it. It is coming. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Listen, guys, couple quick things here. My channel only exists. I'm a one-man dude. Yes, fact checker Jonathan Raymond work from home to give me some editorial and some graphic support. But other than that, I shoot, I record, I do everything on my own here in my room. The only reason I'm able to do that and to pay guys like Ray and to pay guys and give a job to guys like fact checker Jonathan and have this channel at all is because of you guys who send in these super chat questions, which is awesome, but also because of my Patreon supporters. Guys, do me a favor. If you enjoy my programming, do me a favor and check out patreon.com/John Campea. Get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show on the air, and the benefits there are of being a Patreon supporter. And maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too, which would be awesome if you did. Don't forget, guys, a little bit later this afternoon, I am back at 2 p.m. in the afternoon for an all open mic show. Again, that's at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you come back and join me for that. And guys, listen, if you want to help out this video, simplest things. Click the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. That really helps the videos out a lot. Also, it adds to the conversation. So once again, click that thumbs up button and leave a comment below. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.